Sorry about that interruption. I was talking about age differentiation, and we have this tendency in our society to ascribe certain actions and behaviors to age, chronological age. So, um, age differentiation is that we are essentially saying to people, act your age. You shouldn't do certain things once you get to a certain age. And the truth is that as baby boomers get older, this generation, this cohort ages, they're going to be challenging some of these age differentiation ideas that maybe it is okay to go back to school to get an advanced degree when you're 60. Maybe it's okay to continue to work when you're 70. Our traditional ideals of disengagement from life when you get old are really being challenged. And so the book talks about on page 8 this idea of the modernization theory, which is as our society has become more industrialized, the status of older adults in our society has actually decreased. So we don't really need the wisdom of older people any longer like we did back in the earlier days when they had all of this institutional knowledge about the land and about um, you know, building homes and things like that that they would then pass on to the next generation. As our society has become industrialized and more technology is available by way of the internet and other sources of information, this theory, the modernization theory, says that the status of older adults has actually decreased in our society. But you have to also understand that there are some critics of that theory, and in your week 1 folder, I've posted an article that actually pokes some holes in the modernization theory and really challenges this notion that older people in our current society don't have a high level of esteem. Oftentimes we think that older adults, once they get old, they have no purpose in life, they have no role, they have nothing to contribute. And this entire book challenges that notion. The book will talk about and weave again throughout the week, throughout the semester, this idea of ageism, that we, just like racism and other kinds of isms, we as a society tend to function in kind of this ageist way of thinking, that it ascribes a certain characteristics to older people, that they are all don't have anything to give, that they all want to disengage from life, that they're all put in nursing homes, that they all think a certain way, that they all get dementia, they all end up in nursing homes, and so on and so forth. So, but I think it's fair to say that we probably do have an ageist society. We are scared of getting old. We have these fears and these notions about what happens when you get old. And we don't really want to face it. We don't want to talk about it and address it. It's almost like it's happening, but it really isn't happening to us. So we do function under sort of this cloud of ageism. There are some theories of aging that you will read beginning on page 12, and theories around how older adults behave when they get older. There's the activity theory of aging that essentially says that, well, as people get older, that doesn't mean that they don't want to continue to do the activities they did when they were younger. And that in fact, if they do continue their activities into older age, they're going to have a more meaningful aging experience. So that is, and the more active people are, the more of a positive aging experience it will have. There's also the continuity theory of aging, which makes a similar point. But that theory says that as people grow older, they're inclined to maintain as much as they can about their personal habits and their personality and other lifestyle choices. So if you've been a really outgoing type of person that got involved in a lot of activities at church or in your community, that you are likely to want to continue with that type of lifestyle into your older years. So in other words, you don't all of a sudden turn old and then the light bulb shuts off and your personality goes away and the things that you like to do before also go away. So there is activity theory, there's continuity of theory, and there is also another theory called the disengagement theory of aging, which challenges this notion that as people get old, they just want to disappear into society and they want to go away. Now, there are some people as they get older that they do pull back a little bit from society, and there is, I think, a common belief that to a certain degree that's normal and it's acceptable, that they want to kind of sit back a little bit um, and get out of the mainstream of society, but they don't want to disengage. They don't want to just get locked up in their living room and take to their couch and watch TV for the rest of their lives. Some people do, there's no question about that, but we can't subscribe to a whole new population of older people that they are going to want to disengage from society. In fact, the baby boomer population is wanting to do the opposite. They want to become more engaged with society. Boomers are going to want to continue to work. They're going to want to continue to stay active in society, in their churches, in their communities, and in other ways. They want to continue to contribute to society, and we are going to have to figure out ways to support baby boomers and their desire to want to continue functioning in life. And particularly in the working world, we're so accustomed to people, by the time they reach 65, they retire and they leave their jobs, and then younger people step in. Older people are going to want to continue to move into their retirement years in a very productive way. Controversy 1, which begins on page 29, is begging the question, can there be meaning in old age? Can we get to old age and do we just say, well, there's nothing left for me and it's over? Or can we look at this period in our life as opportunities to continue to have meaning and purpose in our life? So the chapter talks about patterns of leisure for older adults, and it talks about religious involvement and religious well-being and spirituality. And it also addresses, interestingly, the fact that in the United States, getting old is often considered to be the role-less role. You've reached an age, and then society basically says, you have no more purpose here. We don't need you. But in other cultures, and on page 36 and 37, it's very interesting. There's some little descriptors about how the Japanese view their older adults and how Hindus view them, and the purpose of getting old. What is the purpose? They've actually defined the purpose of growing old in those cultures, and I think that that's very interesting to take a look at. Let's see. We are going to also focus on page 44 and 45 on an article called Successful Aging. And this writer by the name of Robert Kahn and John Rowe have identified the 3 components of what's called successful aging: avoiding disease and disability, maintaining mental and physical function, and continuing engagement with life. They have defined that those are the markers for somebody who is successfully aging. So one of the things that these authors want to put forward to the readers is that we need to refocus our thought process of aging from being about despair and disease and infirmary and disability to successful aging, and how can we help people successfully age. I want to just take a quick look here and make sure that I have covered everything that I want to. I think that is it. One of the things I want you to understand is that while there are all these theories about aging, disengagement, continuity theory, modernization theory, they all probably have very legitimate applications to growing old, but none of them fully explain how a person is going to age or why a person is going to age in a certain way. So they all have their limits and will never fully explain the process of aging. And there are other things that contribute to our aging experience that you'll get into a little bit later in the course, such as cumulative disadvantage. So because we are such a diverse population of people, there is really no way to characterize in one simple way the aging experience of all persons. And so that's just a concept that I want you to be sure that you understand. And make sure that you read about the spiritual well-being and that why that is so significant for older adults. That is also in your chapter about meaning and purpose. And understand too that during a person's years of growing old, there is often a lot of what we call role loss that takes place. And the transition of social roles, such as becoming a widow, losing your spouse, losing your job, no longer working, is older adults experience a lot of role loss. And so one of the challenges and tasks that an older person has is to recreate new roles for themselves. And Moody and Sasser wholeheartedly support that notion that older adults need to develop new roles in their life. So I think I have covered everything I wanted to for week 1. This is the part 2 of the week 1 video, introduction video. There'll be another video in the week 2 folder. So you know where to find me if you have any questions. And thanks. I look forward to working with you this semester.